Hey everybody, it's Nick from Android Headlines, and today we're putting the Google Pixel, Nexus 6P, Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, and LG V20 to a test in a head-to-head camera shootout. This first shot is going to check both color balance as well as how good the dynamic range on each of these cameras are. Peering up the trunk of this huge live oak, we can see from the side-to-side comparisons here that each phone gets the lighting just a little bit differently than the other. Starting off with the least correct are the Nexus 6P and LG V20, which seem to have tried to compensate for the warm sunset by making the scene much more blue. While this is what the scene would look like at midday, we're actually looking at a glowing orange sunset the way the Galaxy S7 Edge and Google Pixel caught it. Between these two, the Pixel is the winner, although not by a massive margin, as it not only got the lighting color correct, but also has better dynamic range, showing not only slightly more shadow detail on the high limbs, but also keeping the brighter trunk from being blown out, unlike the Galaxy S7 shot. The 6P takes last place here for having the wrong color and being too underexposed, while the V20 is third, Galaxy S7 is second, and the Pixel gets first place in this shot. Our second shot brings us to a shaded picture of a bunch of mums, and we can gather color accuracy of each sensor and see which does best at close-up detail in shaded areas as well. Starting with the Galaxy S7, we can see this shot is a tad warmer than the other three phones, and while it's not too far off from reality, these flowers are much more yellow than orange. The Google Pixel makes them a little too bluish yellow with a cooler shot that's not quite right either. In the case of color, both the Nexus 6P and LG V20 got these perfectly, with the V20 having the better overall exposure for the shot as a whole. As far as close-up detail is concerned, the Galaxy S7 loses again here, showing lots of detail, but when compared to the others, it becomes more obvious that it didn't grab as much visual information. LG's V20 comes in third place, and while that 16 megapixel sensor helps bring in more detail inherently, the processing seems to have muddied the waters just a little bit, giving a slight bit of clarity to the stems, but overall it's a little bit blurry. Google's Nexus 6P is in second with considerably better zoom detail, but it doesn't quite get first place because of the slightly crushed black levels going on here. First definitely goes to the Pixel for up-close detail, as it not only exposed the stems better, but has quite a bit more detail on all the most focused parts of the image. It's not 100% clear who got the overall winner here, but there are different parts that work for different phones. The next one is purely focused on how important processing can be to an image's overall quality. Zooming into the small words in this coupon book reveals how good Google's post-processing in their HDR+ algorithm is, as both the Nexus 6P and Google Pixel tie for overall clarity of the text, even from a crazy distance for this small of a letter, although the Pixel comes out ahead for better exposure reasons. LG's 16 megapixel sensor in the V20 definitely does a good job of pulling in detail, but the image processing ends up muddying the text just a bit because we're in slightly lower lighting conditions here. As we've seen in previous comparisons, Samsung's processing is simply too heavy for these types of shots, and it loses pretty much every time. The text is basically unreadable, even though the sensor in the S7 is the same megapixel count as the ones in the Nexus 6P and Google Pixel. A clear winner for Google here overall. As Halloween is fast approaching and Christmas is right around the corner, we know you'll be taking plenty of pictures of festive lights in dark conditions. In this sort of scenario, there's a clear loser. That's the Nexus 6P, and it way underexposes this scene thanks to the overly bright lights, and seems to have a terribly difficult time of balancing the scene out. The Galaxy S7 takes third place with better zoom detail than the 6P or the Pixel, which is right in line with what we've seen from Samsung's phones in lower light, but it makes the scene a tad too yellow and doesn't quite convey the ambiance of the scene overall. Despite being basically the same sensor as the Nexus 6P, the Google Pixel does a much better job here, getting the super orange glow of these lights right, but the zoom detail is a little bit worse than the S7 or the V20 in this case. Since zoom isn't the goal here, the Pixel gets the edge. In first is the LG V20, who seems to have accurately portrayed the crazy glow of these lights in a dimly lit place, not only grabbing the correct orange glow of each bulb, but also lighting up the scene far more than the other three phones, as well as getting the best zoom detail of all. A clear winner for LG here. Nighttime shots are notoriously hard for any camera, and this is the area where we've seen the most improvement over the years with smartphones. Overall, we can see the V20 and Galaxy S7 are stressing their sensors more than the 6P or the Pixel are, as the overall dull colors of these two phones, mixed with some color artifacts on the white fence and elsewhere in the scene, make for a less attractive picture. The V20 comes in last since the colors are least accurate, and there are more artifacts throughout the image than the other phones have. The 6P is a tad underexposed, but ends up balancing out the shot as a whole better, especially if we zoom into the vehicles and houses in the distance. Google's Pixel does a great job too, but ends up overexposing just a few points in the picture, and the grass isn't quite as clear as the Nexus 6P's grass is either. Plus that sky is far more blue than in reality. The Nexus 6P is the overall winner here, with better colors and detail and better exposure in the places where it matters. So who's the overall winner? Well, this is actually a pretty tough choice. It seems like the Google Pixel gets first place more often than the others, but it's not by a huge margin, and in general we can see that all four of these cameras are quite excellent to say the least. But Google's Pixel does get the slight edge here, and we're going to have to give that one the winner for this contest. We hope you enjoyed that video and will subscribe to us for more content. Check us out on your favorite social media outlet, and don't forget to check out AndroidHeadlines.com for 24/7 Android-based news coverage. Thanks for watching, and until next time.